Is he gone?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the James and Dame Show. I'm Will James, and yes, it is still just me. Sorry to you, Josiah stands. But yes, Merry Christmas. We have a Week 17 preview. We're almost to the playoffs. We're so close. And there's a lot of playoff implications, potentially, with this one. So, yeah, Week 17 preview, here we come. We're going to start off by previewing some of these standings, as Jay Nguyen Cats didn't really pull away. We actually caught up a little bit. Still has a 7 win lead over Josiah, who is 4 games ahead of me. So still a pretty strong lead, but not the best performance, as the best performance actually goes to Josiah, who went 13-3, and I myself went 12-4 along with Amber and Jason. 11-5. Gino and Cats actually had the worst out of our participants, though, which is a little surprising. A little bit of a down week. But regardless, you're still at the top. You're 2 weeks away from being crowned a champion. But we're going to get into some of these picks. I know, you might be saying, what about Josiah and his picks? He still made his picks in advance. He did send them to me. I haven't looked, and I'm going to make mine blindly and state mine before I state his. I have his here, but I haven't looked. Calm down. But we are going to go through these and get into these festive games as we kick off with Wednesday games. This is really throwing off my schedule. The Wednesday and Christmas games being the Chiefs visiting the Steelers. These are going to be on Netflix. Let me know in the comments if that's weird, because I think that's weird. But regardless, we have the Chiefs visiting the Steelers. The Chiefs have lost one game, and I could still see the Chiefs losing this game because the Steelers are still a good team with a really good defense. But the Chiefs just managed to win games. And they don't even need to. They really don't. Like, this game does have pretty serious playoff implications because this will clinch them the 1 seed. So if they manage to pull this out, they'll have the 1 seed locked up, first round bye, all the works. Steelers, on the other hand, coming off of a loss and coming off of a few losses. They're in a really tough stretch where they've played the Eagles, the Ravens, now the Chiefs, and they still have the Bengals left. So they're not in a pretty spot, but they're trying to get back on track and trying to hold that division if they can. But this one, I'm going with the Chiefs because they're just the Chiefs. We've tried to go against them all year, and it doesn't really matter how tough the opponent is. The only one to stand in their way has been the Bills. And the Steelers just aren't the Bills. They're not. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I don't think Russell Wilson has an answer for him. I don't think that offense has an answer for that defense. I can see this being low scoring and kind of ugly, but who knows? Maybe we'll get a Christmas miracle. This really is a lose-lose for me, though, because I either have to see the Chiefs win again, or I have to see the Steelers win. And then, no. So, lose-lose for me. Chiefs win. Josiah is actually picking an upset here, and he is going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I can see it. The defense is strong. TJ Watt, please save us. But also, I'm sticking with the Chiefs. Josiah's going the Steelers. we'll move along as we got the second Christmas Day game with the Ravens visiting the Texans. Texans just coming off a loss to the aforementioned Chiefs, who are playing the Steelers, who just played the Ravens. It's kind of weird, kind of funky. Anyways, we have again, Ravens visiting the Texans. Ravens looking for a chance to actually take control of that division. Steelers, again, are in a rough part of the year, and the Ravens, it's easing up a little bit. It's not easy, but it is nowhere near what the Steelers are going through. Ravens going against the Texans, again, just lost to the Chiefs. They lost Tank Dell for the year. Their offense has been really struggling, and the Ravens defense has been playing a little bit better. And I don't know. You know my pick. I know my pick. Josiah knows my pick. It's the Ravens. Ravens just are playing better. They're playing like a top 10 team, but near top 5. Maybe they can really make that argument here soon. I don't know. It's been a while since I've had them in the top 5, and I think they just need to do a little bit more to deserve that. Also, some teams need to not be playing so damn good, but I think the Texans, as far as division leaders in the AFC, are the weakest, and I think a lot of it comes from that O-line. Again, obviously losing Tank Dell doesn't help, and they're being, I think, matched a little bit better than they were last year. CJ Stroud is going to have a tougher time this year because people know what to expect. So Texans, their offense slowing them down. Ravens are a high-powered offensive machine, and I don't see the Texans, as good as their defense is, being able to slow them down enough. Ravens have done it to too many defenses. So Ravens win. Josiah has the Ravens winning. We are in agreement. I think it's pretty easy. Moving along, though, to the Thursday night game. I don't know why this is the Thursday night game. It's not really promising. We have the Seattle Seahawks visiting the Chicago Bears, and maybe the Bears can turn something around. The defense is not going to be fun to play against, especially if you can't move the ball on the ground. It's going to be a little bit tough. Maybe the Seahawks can, but also the Bears have not been good. Their offense has struggled a lot, especially in that first half. The Seahawks, they've been not great, but the Bears have just been bad. So Seahawks are a pretty easy pick for me. They've been better. Their defense is pretty good. It has some concerns, as we saw in the Packers game, but I don't think a little bit from the Vikings game, but again, Vikings are really good. The Bears are not, so I think they'll have this pretty under control. Josiah also going with the Seahawks, so we're going to see another match, and we're actually going to go for 3 in a row, as one of the Saturday games is going to be the Chargers playing the Patriots, and Josiah and I are both going with the Chargers here, because the Chargers are a fringe playoff team. They're right there, and this would just about do it, I believe. This actually would do it. Patriots, they're not a good team. They're building on a lot of hope, and they're just trying to show promise and develop Drake May, and I think they're doing a pretty good job. The Chargers, again, actually a playoff team. They're very well coached. Not exactly sure if that's what's going on with the Patriots, or you just have yourself a franchise QB. Who knows? But yeah, it seems like a pretty easy decision, I think, for both of us, with the Chargers, who've actually been winning games, putting stuff together, and again, better roster. We've been saying it all year. The Patriots are just not super talented, but I'm excited to see what Drake May continues to do. So, Chargers and Chargers. So, we'll move along to the afternoon game on Saturday, as we have the Broncos visiting the Bengals. And this one is tough. This one's very tough. Broncos not playing as well as they were a little bit earlier in the year. Bengals on their hot streak as they always are at the end of the year, but they need to win out and have the Broncos lose out to sneak into that 7 seed. And these two playing helps a lot for the Bengals. Bengals, they don't completely control their own fate, but a win here plus a Broncos loss to the Chiefs would clinch them most likely a 7 seed. There's some other stuff with the Colts and Dolphins, but most importantly, the Broncos need to lose 2 straight, and the Bengals need to win their last 2. Again, these two playing each other, very helpful, very helpful. Obviously, it starts with the Bengals actually winning this one, and unfortunately, I think he's going to be sad boy because I'm going to go with the Broncos here. They haven't been playing the greatest. Their defense is still very good, even though they haven't played super well against AFC North opponents. But regardless, Broncos have been playing pretty well. I mean, again, it hasn't been super pretty on offense. And, I mean, you charged a game last week. You had an ugly offensive game against the Colts 2 weeks ago. With that defense, Sean Payton, Bo Nix developing, I still think the Broncos have a really good team. And I think the Bengals are still lacking that. I still think they're relying too much on Joe Burrow to play hero ball all the time. I mean, the defense has stepped up a little bit with turnovers and such, but that's about it, really. I mean, their defense has not been good. You shut down the Browns, but they're the Browns. They're not even the Jameis Winston Browns, who at least can put up yards and touchdowns. I mean, I don't know. I'm going Broncos just because the lack of defense for the Bengals concerns me, and the presence of the Broncos defense, I think, can outmatch that. So I'm going Broncos, even though I am minority, as the Bengals are the most picked and betting favorite. Call me a gambling man. Josiah actually is going with the Bengals, and you know what? I don't blame him. With how hot the Bengals are right now, I think they should be the favorite. I think the Broncos, just again, Sean Payton's a good coach. You got kind of a team around you, and I think you finally win this. I think you win this game, and you clinch your first playoff berth in 8 years. I think it's time. I think this is where you do it. And yeah, you end a lot of dreams, hopes and dreams for some teams. But yeah, we differ there though. That's just the first one in a few games. So again, I'm going with the Broncos. Josiah's going with the Bengals. Hello to this guy. But then we move on to the Cardinals and the Rams. This game's interesting. Cardinals visiting the Rams. Cardinals season is done. Rams still trying to lock in that division title. They've been hot this late in the season. And the Cardinals have only won 3 games dating back to the 2017 season. And weird thing about that, only two of those wins actually came on the road, which is where we have the Cardinals now. But as you know, they've played a lot more than 3 times since then, as they play twice a year. So Cardinals do not have a good track record against the Rams. Having already won earlier this year, obviously there's a potential for a shift, but I don't think with the Cardinals season over, the Rams playing for a lot more. Cardinals could play spoiler here, but I'm going to stick with the Rams because Rams they're hot right now and they're playing for a lot still. They're not easing up yet. And playing at home, even though it's only Los Angeles, which is not known for really filling a stadium very well, we're gonna stick with Los Angeles because I think this is kind of the Rams' game to lose. Who knows? Maybe Cardinals will get it back on track and win a game though, and try and play spoiler. Be quite amusing. And before we move on, Josiah also had the Rams. Just to clarify, in case you were wondering. So we agree there. And we agree here too, as the Colts are visiting the Giants, and there's no way in hell the Colts are losing to the Giants because the Giants are bad. Bad. I say this, and the Giants beat the Seahawks earlier this year. The Colts are... I'm sticking with the Colts. He is too, but Colts don't turn into the Seahawks. Colts coming off of a win against the Titans, who I still think are potentially better than the Giants, which is saying a lot. Just hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. He had a big game last week, and that is all that they need to do. The Giants have no real bright spots right now, except for, again, Malik Nabers. It's really just Malik Nabers at this point. But the Colts, it should be easy. Pain and suffering for the Giants. The season's almost over. You're almost there. Again, Colts still fighting for potentially that last playoff spot. Not a lot in their control, besides just winning the easy games. But yeah, a win against the Giants here, it'll help. So Giants lose, hold that top spot, top draft pick, and Colts keep playoff hopes alive. Maybe. We'll have to see. Depends on the Broncos and the Bengals. Then we have the Bills hosting the Jets. I mentioned it before. I think there's a decent chance the Bills drop one of these last 3 games. They are playing easy division opponents in the Jets and the Patriots, but no division opponent is really that easy. As we saw, the Patriots kind of give them a little bit of work, but not that much. Patriots gave them some trouble early in that game, and they still have to play the Patriots again. They do play the Jets here too, and Jets are also known for kind of winning pointless games, but we'll have to see how they end the year. I'm going to stick with the Bills, who, again, are still one of the best teams in the AFC and just the league. The Jets are not. Jets are a mess. Their defense is not great, or as good as it was with Saleh there. The offense has picked up a little bit, but they're still not able to win games. They're just struggling to close them out. They can move the ball on offense. They can play pretty good defense, but they still make the mistakes or crumble when they need to pull it together, and they're just not good. Bills, again, Allen cooled off a little bit last week, but the defense and the rest of the team stepped up, which was big. Bills are just a way more complete team and just a better team than the Jets right now. So would I be surprised if the Jets somehow pull off a win? No. But I think Josiah can agree with me. There's no way in hell either of us are going against the Bills right now. Not in this game. So Bills win. Probably. Moving along, though, to the Raiders visiting the Saints. Yeah, Raiders actually are betting favorites. They're not the most picked, but they are betting favorites, which is interesting. The Raiders are not a good team. They're going in with Desmond Ridder. They did just beat the Jaguars, who suck. But so do the Raiders. Are the Jaguars just worse than the Raiders, or are the Raiders just worse at tanking than the Jaguars? That's the question. Saints being shut out 34-0 against the Packers, not pretty, obviously. But I still do think that the Saints are the better team. They are better coached. It's hard to say. The Raiders are just not good. The Saints, they have Rizzi, who, again, hasn't necessarily won them a lot of games, but provides a lot. He makes the team better than what they were when Dennis Allen was there. They've played good teams close, and they've won a few games. So, I'm going with the Saints. Raiders, again, don't have Crosby for the rest of the year. You really just have Brock Bowers. And I don't think that's enough to win you all these games. It's good enough to win you a few, but I don't think this is the one. I don't think the Saints pull this out. Or the Raiders pull this out. Sorry. And Josiah agrees with me. We're both going Saints here. Which is funny, because that means we're both going with Spencer Rattler, which is Spencer Rattler, Desmond Ridder, not a matchup I was expecting. Huh. Josiah, you eat this game into the fucking chopping block. We'll move along. Yeah, I don't feel good about this game at all. The Panthers visiting the Buccaneers. The Panthers just ended the Cardinals season, and they're playing better. They also just lost 2 weeks ago to the Cowboys, who just beat the Buccaneers, and they almost beat the Buccaneers in overtime. I don't think this game is going to be as close as it was last time, and I am going to stick with the Buccaneers because they're playing at home. I just don't have as much faith as the numbers would suggest. The Panthers, again, playing well, at least much improved from the earlier in the year. Chuba Hubbard's playing very well. Defense is stepping up sometimes, at times. But Bryce Young is also playing well, and he's playing with poise. He's got confidence. He's smiling, which is just shocking from what you would have seen towards the beginning of the year. So, Panthers, again, I think they're on the right track, and I think if you can make this game close again, you look good. If you manage to pull out a win, good for you. You really screw over the Buccaneers here, because Buccaneers need a win here, because a loss with a Falcons win, that gives the Falcons the division. I don't know what to tell you, but Buccaneers need this win. Panthers could end back-to-back seasons pretty much here. Obviously, with the help of the Falcons winning a game. But we'll move along to Tank Bowl, iteration number 6, 7. It's hard to keep track. We have the Titans visiting the Jaguars. This game is just not pretty. You got probably Mason Rudolph going against Mac Jones. I was hoping to see some solid Maction between the Jaguars and Raiders, which Maction is now what I'm calling the gameplay we get when Mac Jones steps in. So Maction, not very good last week, and I don't think it's going to be good against the Titans. The Jaguars, they beat the Titans earlier in the year. I wasn't really expecting it last time, but I think the Titans, they took out Will Levis, and unfortunately I think that is going to kind of fix their issues, because I don't know what's up with Will Levis. He was not this bad last year, so I'm still looking at coaching as part of the issue, but I think Rudolph plays better. I think Pollard is going to help carry that team a little bit, and I think a good defensive game is really going to help them against a struggling Jaguars team. As long as you lock down Brian Thomas, you mostly mitigate the Jaguars. They're pretty one-dimensional right now. and it just isn't pretty. So I'm gonna go with the Titans, as weird as that is. Something about almost completing a 31-point comeback gives me some confidence in them. Maybe they can ruin their tank. Maybe the Jags can tank harder. Who knows? But, oh, apologies. And Josiah is also going with the Jaguars. So, a little bit of disagreement there. Interesting. I'll have to see. I'm still sticking with the Titans, though, because I don't trust the Jaguars. Moving along to the last Sunday early window, we have the Eagles hosting the Cowboys. The Cowboys have been playing pretty good. Like, solidly good. Solidly good. The past few weeks. Again, also kind of playing spoiler. You're still without Dak, so I don't think you're a good team, like a great team, but they are playing improved football. Eagles, a very good team. Real question is going to be Jalen Hurts, because he suffered a concussion last week, and I think that's a lot of what cost them the game against the Commanders. And as it is listed right now, Jalen Hurts is listed as questionable, which is concerning. I think if he plays, it's an easy game for Philly. I think if he does miss some more time, which they might sit him just because it's not necessarily a game that matters that much. You're in a good spot. It's going to be really hard for you to get the 1 seed, though, if you're the Eagles. If I were them, I would consider sitting him and playing Kenny Pickett, who's also questionable. So, interesting to see what they do here. But I think you look at sitting Jalen Hurts potentially if there's some question marks around it. But yeah, I think this game comes down to the status of Jalen Hurts. Even though Jalen Hurts has not been phenomenal this year, he gives you much better odds than Kenny Pickett. Now, even with Kenny Pickett, it would be Kenny Pickett versus Cooper Rush, who, like, I still think Kenny Pickett could pull that off. Either way, I'm gonna go with the Eagles just because I don't think the Cowboys are gonna be able to stop Saquon Barkley. Man is a menace, and Josiah can agree with me as he is also going with the Eagles. So both going with the Eagles. Cowboys, good luck, even with Kenny Pickett in, good luck. But also Eagles, don't. Moving along to the later window of the Sunday games, we have the Dolphins visiting the Browns. And I believe this actually was flexed out of Sunday night's game, plural, or Sunday night's game, sorry. Because I believe a few weeks ago this was projected to be the Sunday night game, but this is, thankfully they moved this, because I did not want to watch this on Sunday night. The Dolphins, again, visiting the Browns. The Browns are not good at all. At all. The Dolphins are struggling, but they're staying in the race for now. I think by this point, they'll kind of have an idea if they still have a chance, because Colts and then the Bengals and Broncos will have also all played, so that'll be interesting. But I think the Dolphins, this is a pretty easy win for them. Browns, they don't have a lot to look forward to right now. I mean, you benched Jameis prior to last week, so you're rolling with DTR. Offense just doesn't have a lot going for it, and Buddy was scrambling for his life, so we'll see if he even plays the full game. Again, Dolphins, they have a good defense. They have a pretty good defense. Their offense has kind of not been the best. It's been on and off, but I think the Dolphins have this one pretty easily in the bag. Again, Josiah agrees with me here. Dolphins. Dolphins and Dolphins. Dolphins are just the better team. Again, beating the 49ers, who are kind of, I don't know, they seem eerily similar, but like Dolphins are just better this year. I'd say by a little bit, but I think it's a little more than a little bit. But we'll move along. Oh boy. Sunday, the second afternoon game, or late window game. The Packers visiting the Vikings. And this one's tough because the Vikings beat them earlier. And the Vikings also have kind of a tough remaining schedule because they play the Packers here and then they play the Lions. Well, the Packers get the Vikings and the Bears, but Vikings still playing for division lead, and Packers playing for seeding, I guess? I don't know. Packers here, again, you come off of a 34-0 win over the Saints. You look pretty good, but the Vikings just came off of beating the Seahawks, who are a playoff contender. Saints really aren't. Packers have looked good though the past few weeks. Again, both have looked really good. Both are scary teams right now, and I have a lot of respect for the Vikings. A lot of respect for the Vikings, but I think the Packers are gonna claw back a little bit. I think they're actually gonna win here, upset the Vikings on the road, split with them. Also, because again, Vikings won earlier. I don't think it's expected, but I think the way the Packers tend to play this late in the season, and with the Vikings being on the hot streak they are, I think they're a little susceptible. Plus, I mean, they are playing for still technically that one seed, but they don't have too much to lose here. So I think it really is going to come down to next week regardless for the Vikings. But the Packers playing for a lot, and again, they're really scary this time of year. They're playing indoors because it is going to be in Minnesota, but I'm going Packers, just as going Vikings, and I don't blame them because, again, the Vikings, one of the hottest teams, technically the hottest team in the league as far as win streak goes, but they're a very good team. I'm excited for this game. I almost wish this was a Sunday night game, but I'm not too upset at the one that is. But yeah, me, Packers, Josiah, Vikings. Moving along to the Sunday night game, we have the battle of some rookie quarterbacks. The Falcons and Michael Penix are visiting the Washington Commanders, who both are playing for a playoff spot. And Falcons control their own destiny right now. The head of the division, all they have to do is win the next two games, and they're in. Commanders need to win, I believe, just one more game, and they clinch a playoff spot. This one is not as easy as it looks. And the only reason why I say it looks easy is because 90% have gone with the Commanders, and they're not super big betting favorites, but they are betting favorites. Josiah also going with the Commanders. And I look at this thinking about the difference between these teams because the Falcons recently have relied a lot on their defense, and their defense has been playing very well the last 2 weeks. Obviously against teams that have not performed well on offense, being the Giants and the Raiders. But looking at the way they've played has just been kind of intimidating. They're relying a lot on their defense. Their defense is playing pretty well. Michael Penix didn't have to do a lot. He did pretty well. I mean, he had an interception, but that was off of a tip drop from Kyle Pitts, which is just, anyways. He played pretty well, but he's not playing to the level that Jaden Daniels is. Commanders still making a lot of mistakes, but they're playing more as a unit than I would say the Falcons are. The Falcons' offense is just taken a step back the past few weeks, and again, better last week, better than it was with Kirk Cousins. But the Commanders are just a more complete team, I think, right now. I think the offense works really well. Terry McLaurin is scary. Run game has kind of taken a step back. I think that's kind of been what hurt them a little bit. But Jaden Daniels last week pulling off his best Lamar Jackson impression with just doing like absolutely everything. The turnovers, you need to mitigate. They're still making mistakes. Receivers dropping ball, like they're not playing as well as they were. But I think there's enough going well for the Commanders for them to win this game and clinch a division or clinch a playoff spot. And again, Josiah agrees with me. He's also going with the Commanders, but this one could be really good. Could also be really ugly. Kind of concerned about that being a Sunday night game, but I'm not mad about it. We'll see. Commanders win. And we get into the Monday night game, which is just who decided this would be a good idea. We have the Detroit Lions visiting the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are not in a good place right now. Just were eliminated. Team's not playing too well. You just lost to the Dolphins, who are also probably not going to make the playoffs, as hard as they are trying. Yeah, this one was pretty easy for both Josiah and I. We're both going with the Lions. Lions, a very good team. 49ers, their struggle is on offense. They are going against a beat-up Detroit Lions defense. But I don't think that the 49ers defense is going to be able to keep up with what the Lions offense can do. Yes, they lost David Montgomery. So you're still just dealing with Jahmyr Gibbs, at least in the run game. But you still have to worry about Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, Tim Patrick, Sam Laporta. Their offense is still super scary, and their defense plays well enough, even with as injured as they are. They play well enough to win games, to allow the offense to win them games. And the 49ers, just their offense has not looked good. Worst case scenario, this is like a 28-17. Worst case scenario in the sense of you're a Lions fan, I feel like. I don't think this game will be pretty. Maybe it will, but I think it's going to be a pretty easy Lions win, and I bet Josiah would agree with me. So, that actually wraps up our Week 17 preview. We're almost there. Thank you so much for joining us. Me, again. He'll be back soon, I promise. It's a weird time, weird schedule with Christmas and everything. So, thank you for joining us. This has been the Week 17 preview. I am Will James, and we will see you next time. Bye.